is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 214. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E, a.k.a. Lee James, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew Easy, a.k.a. Easterdamus, a.k.a. Pat E. O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willy, a.k.a. Joe E. Chestnut, a.k.a. Ian. Stop. E. We're getting back to our roots here on episode 214, sitting here on a Wednesday, getting ready to go north of the border to take on the first place Vancouver Whitecaps. How you feeling, my friend?
Excited now. When was the last time you did that intro? I feel like the only person who will know is you, but do you know?
No, I mean, it was before this season started, that's for sure.
That's been a long time. I thought we had retired it without my knowledge here. That's great. Yeah, I'm excited for this Vancouver matchup, dude. This is a really, really good test for this Austin team here early in this season. Vancouver sitting atop the table. So broke it down, took a look at their club, and they just keep getting shit done. So I'm excited to chat about them, go over a little bit of news. Feeling good.
I do have to admit, the Mind Fortress did leak a little bit. I had to go back and look and write down the order that I said those in because it has been that long. We'll preview the Vancouver match. Last business day is back with a match preview against the defending champions, North Texas SC. That's a Copita Tejas matchup. GA Cup starts this week. Or this weekend, rather, for the Academy teams, and it's Wednesday, so we'll talk about the nonsense. But the first thing that I want to do here, E, is remind everybody we ended the recap on Sunday's episode talking about the next Los Verdes watch party, so just want to remind everybody again here about that. For the Vancouver match, and that's a 6:30 p.m. kickoff here, so a little bit early for your typical away match to Vancouver. With that 6:30 kickoff, that means the party here is starting at 5 p.m. on Saturday, and that is over at Southern Heights Brewing Company, 6014 Techna Center Drive. Again, like MLK and 183 area there in East Austin. They have an indoor setup, multiple TVs. I did see something as well, a note that said they will have a TV with the audio synced up out back. You bring your own chair for that seating. It's open to all ages, free parking. La Taquicardia food truck on site there. Los Verdes members get drink specials, and La Murga de Austin will be there. So you kind of got everything rolling here. We are into the middle of the season, mid-season form with the watch parties. So excited to see everybody out there at Southern Heights Brewing this Saturday.
Yeah, that's a party right there. La Murga being there, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Just kind of adds the extra ambiance there.
Yeah.
So we'll see all of our friends out there on Saturday. And before we get into the preview here, just want to remind you all listening or watching on the YouTube channel that the best way to support the North End Podcast, you actually support us financially by downloading the audio versions of our episodes. You can toggle on auto downloads wherever you get your podcasts. Support us going forward. You don't have to think about it again. You can go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcast. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hitting that subscribe button does help us grow the show, and you can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, you're on episode 214. Hit the like button, hit that thumbs up, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. E, so you're on the preview here this week, but I did want to mention two things before we get fully immersed in Vancouver. And we'll talk about Ilie in the lineup, of course, when we get into us, but almost immediately after we stopped recording on Sunday, I kind of just hit myself in the head I can't believe I forgot this. Speaking of Ilie, I remembered and didn't bring it up on the episode that I saw pictures of him with pretty heavy wraps on his knee during practice last week. So I imagine, he's going through a little bit of knee soreness there as one of the more veteran players on the team. We know we had knee issues for Diego Rubio last year by the time we got to late May. So, Coach, also, we had our media availability, I think just because of the international travel here. They did it a day earlier than normal here on Wednesday. So he did give some additional information in Spanish about Ilie there and the recent, not lack of appearances, but DNP'd on Saturday at home. And coming off of that match at home, the 0-0 draw, fourth straight week, I believe, that Austin FC has somebody named to the team of the match day, once again on the bench, but it's Brad Stuver. And I believe this puts Brad Stuver as the club's leader historically, surpassing Sebastian Driussi with his 16th team of the match day appearance. So congrats to Brad, well deserved. And with the clean sheet, man, I don't know, maybe could have had that starting spot there.
I mean, fantastic for Brad. All time, that's incredible. As two dudes who like to speculate, I'm interested that we didn't really go into too much depth in regard to Ilya earlier, because like clearly something had to be going on, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think he probably just has some knee soreness, like kind of just to kind of use an NBA meme here, like general soreness, right? Yeah. Like maybe it's that. Again, I did hear Alex, because I feel like every week now we're praising Alex from We Are Austin TV for the great work that he's doing. And of course, he bounces, being bilingual, he bounces between English and Spanish questions to both coaches and players. And I know he asked about Ilya, and you know me, just being the uncultured white boy that I am, could not decipher in time for us to record here on early afternoon on Wednesday what coach said about Ilya there. So again, I imagine you could go over to all the We Are Austin channels and that they will have that answer out there translated into English. One thing he did talk about before we get into the Vancouver side of the preview, Diego Rubio gave an injury update. Looks like 2 to 3 weeks on Diego there with the hamstring, said it was similar to Julio. And he also reconfirmed that Mikel Dessler is on pace to return at the beginning of May. So that's what we've expected from the start. And as long as he's on track for that, we haven't talked too in depth about that month of May, but it is the toughest stretch of the season, at least how things stand right now. Because I believe by that point, we will be on 10 league matches at the end of this month, right? We've done 7. We've got 3 more. Vancouver, LA Galaxy, Houston. In May, as long as we win that first Open Cup matchup, there will be 9 matches in like a 4.5 week span. So we need to be super healthy exiting this month of April. So knocking on all the wood in sight here. But again, I'm rambling. Talk to us a little bit more about Vancouver, because I know you're on the match preview. And for those that want to read this full match preview, at thenordendpodcast.com. This season, though, has been coming out the day after our midweek episodes, just to allow us to kind of intake all of the information from the midweek presser, which was a surprise that it happened today.
An early one there. I did want to touch on the Dessler thing, because I feel like we almost forgot about this, right? Because the defense has been so solid for this team, and Johnny's been so good in that role. So that's really good that timeline is ramping up well. Hopefully, Ilya, nothing too serious. Diego, I'm thinking about the last matchup here where we brought Hot Air in, and we wanted him to be that guy that was kind of like alleviating the pressure off the man mark that they had on BV. And we talked about, did it hurt if we missed Diego, like if Diego wasn't ready to go? And I feel like yes, because that probably would have been him, I think, right? Like, yeah. So hopefully these guys are going to recover well here, and we'll be ready for that big month of May, because like you said, that's going to be a brutal stretch. But
and it's not just the number of games there too, dude. And I don't mean to just be jumping all the way into this like May preview, which I think at some point in the next week or so we should take a look ahead. But like Cincinnati, Atlanta, like we are getting again what I think is going through the schedule the other night, the toughest stretch of the season coming up in May. But again, we've got Vancouver. This is what we're focused on here coming into this match this Saturday, a place where we have never brought home 3 points.
Never brought home 3 points, a team that we have really, really struggled with. 1 victory across our 8 matchups with Vancouver. The lone win that Austin had was in April. Excuse me. Oh man, the notes are a little messed up here.
April 23 or April 23rd, rather, 2022.
Okay.
And I think what I remember about that match, if I recall correctly, is it was the match immediately following the loss to San Antonio FC in the Open Cup that year. And so it's like, to beat Vancouver, we had to have like was a franchise-altering, fan base enraging loss to a USL side to actually get one over on the Whitecaps.
Okay, well, that was good tidbit, because I definitely wanted to cut that part, but that's good information there. So, yes, a fantastic win. Brace from Max Iarruti there. Seba to seal it with a nice little touch past the keeper for Vancouver there. But it's been really, really rough sledding versus this team. Like I said, 1 win, 5 losses, 2 draws. We have not won a game up there at BC Place. It has not been kind to us. And it's going to be hard to expect a victory, although we might get there, versus this Vancouver team right now, who has been absolutely fantastic this season. We're chatting before we go on the show here. We wanted to look at their schedule, who they had to play and everything. They did have a bit of an easy schedule to start this season, but they handled all those teams pretty convincingly. They're coming off a 2-0 thrashing of Colorado that I don't think the score is indicative of how well Vancouver played. But ultimately, the most surprising thing here is that they have been banged up all season without Scottish Messi, their best player, who has been just one of the best players in the league. You combine him with Brian White, one of the best duos in the league. He has been out for an extended period of time here, and they have found ways to continually win. And they're coming off that 2-0 win versus Colorado, but they do have a matchup tonight versus Pumas down there south of the border for them.
2 borders. Yeah, they're crossing 2 borders.
The old double border. Going to get hit with the double tariffs going down there to play Pumas. And they should be up 1-0 in that CONCACAF matchup as well. Coco Carrasquilla bit them on the ass just as he did to us last season.
Yeah.
So this team has been absolutely fantastic. I'll let you get a little bit in here before I go into the much abbreviated history of the Vancouver side from what you usually get when ZG's on the write up here.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't have much to add in terms of the schedule, right? Like you and I were looking at this a little bit earlier this morning, and like the strength of schedule isn't very tough. But if we're going to say all about our favorite team, all you can do is play who's in front of you when you play these, St. Louis with so shorthanded, or Sporting KC so shorthanded, things like that. They're just playing who's in front of them and taking care of business. And you mentioned the injuries that they've had. I know we'll get a little bit more into that, who we expect to play, who we expect to still be sidelined. For the uninitiated, I guess the only real note that I have there, Scottish Messi is Ryan Gauld, is one of their 2 DPs on this team. It's a 2-4 roster build as we pull up the roster profile here for those watching on the YouTube. But, 4-1 win in the opener, shorthanded Portland, right? Red card, 10-man Portland. Beat the Galaxy 2-1 at home. Okay, the Galaxy don't have a win. You beat Montreal at home 2-0. Okay, Montreal doesn't have a win, right? You go to Dallas, you win 1-0, sneaking one out at the death. Their only slip up really in the league so far is home to Chicago. Yeah. Chicago won 3-1, but that was the international break, so it was injured and missing guys for the international break. Like, I'm pretty sure Andres Kubas was missing that game. That's their other designated player. And you mentioned, right, going to Pumas tonight in the second leg of their CONCACAF quarterfinal matchup. I mean, this team, they beat Rayados, rotated. No Brian White, no Ryan Gauld. Takaoka was rotated out of goal. Like, this is a team that has kind of been, from afar, my impression is, like, next man up is what they've been exemplifying, like, week in and week out.
I mean, it's like next man up on steroids. They're getting guys out of nowhere who are coming out. I mean, we're going to talk about this Tate Johnson kid that you did a little bit of a deep dive into, like where he came from and everything. But maybe the biggest key to their success and the transition that we saw from this team being, I believe, 7th or 8th place last year to being at the top of the table on both conferences and the lead for the Supporters Shield is the hiring of their new coach, Jesper Sorensen. He comes over from Denmark with a lot of experience, coached the U21 Denmark national team as well. And he's got these guys, like you said, next player up, next man up, get in there and do your job. They control the ball really well, and they play great defense. Like, we're looking at some of their numbers. They're performing pretty much exactly as you would expect them. They have 12 goals in the season. They've conceded 5. They have 11.7 XG. They have 6.2 XG conceded. So, like, this is a team that is meeting their metrics, playing at a super high level. And like with that schedule, yes, they haven't played some of the better teams in this league, but when you pair that with the performances that they've had in CONCACAF, what they've done to be at the top of this table with all the dudes that they've been missing, it is incredibly impressive. And like, they didn't go out and make a bunch, like all these other teams we've previewed, right? Not all of them, but most of them, they've gone out and made a big splash signing, big cash signing. This Vancouver team didn't really do that. Their highest transfer in last year was $1.6 million for Edier Ocampo, who's a very good player. But like not the 9 million, 10 million numbers we kind of saw. I mean, he's a right fullback, like he's playing his role and doing it really well. But this team is just really firing on all cylinders right now. Got to keep close attention to this matchup versus Pumas. I mean, you go for this, right? Like
you would think so, right?
You're
but
playing
like,
how much house money do you need to like roll the dice here? You know what I mean? And like you outplayed Pumas in the first game. You get a Koko Kerski, a death goal, which my heart goes out to you. Like it sucks. But like you got to go for this, in my opinion. So I'm going to be watching that game.
Yeah, man, that is a must watch for me tonight as well. Not just because we're playing them on Saturday, but like I'm usually, maybe if it was Houston or Dallas, maybe I'm not cheering for them, but I'm usually cheering for the MLS side here when we're playing some of these interleague matchups in CCC. I know you also did a little bit of research right into kind of their history.
Oh yeah.
But one thing I saw though too, dude, is that and I don't know, I apologize if I'm taking this right out from under you, but that I think the team is for sale or they just got new owners, but they're looking at a potential new stadium, like a soccer specific stadium, because BC Place, right? We always bitch and complain about this being on turf and being up north and the travel that goes into this trip every year. The lease apparently ends between the Whitecaps and BC Place after this season. So apparently there's discussion up there in Vancouver about potentially building a soccer specific stadium on a location owned by the city that's currently a horse racing track, I think. So that's something to keep an eye on over the next, 6 months to a year. Because I think, I certainly don't think that means that we would get a natural grass pitch up there in Vancouver. But I'm all for more soccer specific stadiums around this league.
I agree. And I think that their fan base deserves it. They have a great fan base. The Southsiders there, their supporters group and everything like that. Let's talk about a couple
it's like
more.
Our eternal Canadian enemies there. North End versus the Southsiders.
Oh, shit. Let's talk about Emmanuel Sabi, who they brought in as well. Played in Ligue 1 in France for a team that wasn't very good, Le Havre. I'm taking French on Duolingo, so I should be able to. Yeah, I got a 25-day streak going. So like,
hey, there you go.
Come on, getting a little more cultured here and everything.
I'm just excited that you're trying to pronounce things on this podcast now.
There's a couple Denmark teams up there that I'm not going to try. That Thorensen was at. But the best one I saw, if I could find it here quickly, but I'm not able to at the moment. But Sabi's been great for them too. Like he's a U.S. national. He's got caps for the U20 team and I believe the U23 team. They brought him in for $1 million transfer. He just scored last week on a fantastic goal. And like, if you get a chance, I'm not saying go rewatch all the Vancouver Whitecaps games you can for this season, but if you get a chance to just go take 6-7 minutes out of your day to watch their highlights versus Colorado, you can get a bit of a glimpse into what this team has been able to do with the players that they have available. And this Sabi goal that they get out of him is, I think, exemplifies everything that we've been saying about this team, how the next man up has been fantastic in their role. So like, go check out those highlights so you can take a look at what this Vancouver Whitecaps team has done. They're really great they're great in possession. They're great on defense as well. I think they're third with 0.7 goals conceded or per game this season, which is only 0.3 higher than us. So like, they've been able to score and able to play defense as well. Us on the offensive side of the ball, I think we got to get into Austin here a little bit. We haven't hit our stride yet, and I'm not sure if this is the game that you're going to be able to do it despite the injuries that Vancouver has. Yeah.
And I think I'm sitting here reading about Emmanuel Sabi because I had no idea that guy was in Ligue 1 last year, nor that he was a domestic player here. I guess I could have just looked at the roster profile that was in front of me and figured out he at least isn't on an international spot. But the fact that this team, right, like not only missing, and I don't think you ran through the full list of guys we expect to be out yet for them, right? Ryan Gauld is expected to remain out here. Sam Adekubi, who you mentioned earlier, Matthias Laborda, Jaden Nelson, who's been a huge addition for them this year. Now he's out. Utvik, the center back who wears the kind of protective gear on his head. And like those guys have been out, and this is a 2-4 GAM build team. They only have 2 of the 4 U22 slots used. And like this may be, just off the top of my head, I think this is probably a top 3 team in the league in terms of what they're getting out of their U22s. Because Eddie Ocampo, who you mentioned coming in the summer window last year, he's been very solid. But Pedro Vite is a dude in this league. And the fact that he's a U22 for them, like it allows you to have 2 DPs in Gald and Kubas. And their TAM players, like I think the only one that makes me scratch my head is like I don't really want a TAM goalkeeper on my roster in terms of like the efficiency under the cap. But Adekubi, Blackman, Laborda, Sabby, Brian White, and Brian White being a TAM player is good roster building too.
I mean, needless to say there. And like they're even getting production out of Ali Ahmed. I mean, he got time in the rotation for the Monterey, played a bunch, but he's been playing all over the place for them as well. He's got 2 assists on the season. So like they are just Berhalter's been good.
Yeah, and like one time, former Austin FC midfielder.
Yeah, he has really raised his level of play. And like Jaden Nelson, obviously he has that first game where they blow Portland out and he gets the 3 assists and the goal. Yeah. But like he's been incredibly solid, and he is definitely someone they're going to be missing here. I don't know when I think he picked up that knock versus Pumas, right?
Yeah.
But that
near the very end of the match, I believe.
Got just an elite level of speed that he has. And so like I think they'll miss him on the plays that they do go ahead and counter. But again, it's just hard to point to any holes that they have. I think what we have going for us well here, despite how well they've been playing, despite the fact that we have never won a game up there in Canada, is that they are very beat up. You think they should be going for it in this Pumas match. And yes, while they have been able to overcome that throughout the entire course of this season, the duration at which they have held this up, particularly with the CONCACAF matchups, doesn't seem sustainable. It just doesn't. So we'll have to see what it looks like, but I'm definitely ready to talk about our boys if you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of seconding what you said there is like we attacked them in the picks a few weeks back, coming off of, I want to say it was coming off of the Monterey victory in that second leg there, going to Dallas. Yeah. Like, okay, like these dudes are a little beat up. They're going to rotate. And they kind of played that match to a stalemate, stole a goal at the end and got all 3 points. So like they just continue to overcome these perceived hurdles. And I'm with you, man. Like it feels like at some point that's going to come crashing down, not over like any sort of long term, but like they're going to drop one of these games eventually. And again, it seems like we're in a good spot for it to be this Saturday.
Yeah. And I mean, and the level of travel, like that's a huge thing for a lot of guys to get used to when they come over from European leagues. Like they travel a ton. Like you said, you go play Monterey, then you go to Dallas, you got to go back up there to Vancouver. So like this team is just finding ways to get it done. But I agree. I think we have them at a decent spot as you could ask for. But let's talk about our guys here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen the same starting 11 each of the last 2 weeks. We talked about the injury report, the injury update, rather, that Coach Nico gave here on Wednesday afternoon. So we know no Mikel Dessler. Yep. Now we know no Diego Rubio this weekend. So I imagine we have the exact same 9 guys rather on the bench as we saw last week. So, and again, I think that will play into who's available for the second team on Friday as well, right? Because I think you're going to see Jimmy travel with the team. And I'm still waiting. I know Nico was asked about a potential supplemental contract for Riley Thomas. He did a very good, like in the mold of our old coach, like just deflected it, kind of like I know the front office is looking at certain things. Okay. They're considering avenues and, it's going to play out how it does. So again, I still think we're going to see that supplemental deal announced before Saturday. But we just have to wait for that.
Yeah, well, we shall see. Anticipating the same starting 11, no Julio, right? Like,
man, if I spoke Spanish, I could give you a better answer in terms of like, because then I would have a better feeling on Ilie, right? And like tonight, unless I can find, We Are Austin does the hard work for us, going back and trying to translate all of that myself, that whole answer, I could give you a better answer then. But I mean, Ilie's been active the last 2 weeks, and he did sub in against St. Louis. So again, and just the tone of voice from Estevez today at the presser, like, I don't think we're dealing with anything serious here with Ilya. So again, I'm not surprised at all if we see some rotation in that midfield. I also don't think, again, like, I think I'm fine with any combination of those four. I would just be very surprised if Wolf or Sabovic were the odd ones out. I still think it's between Danny and Ilya there, but it could be all four because we've seen that lineup as well over this unbeaten streak right here, 4 straight weeks unbeaten. So, but I know you brought up Julio first, right? And I also heard, I want to say it was Landon and Mike on this week's Moon Tower who were talking about the pairings of Ilya and Julio or Svatak and Danny. And those guys maybe being kind of paired together in terms of how they're going to approach a starting unit here. I kind of feel the same way, though, as I do to the midfield at this point, where like Svatak has been ultra solid.
Yeah.
And despite him looking stiff on the ball, when has he put us in a bad spot with that stiffness, with that, just looking a little bit more awkward compared to BHI or certainly Julio? He's gotten in a couple, I think he got in a trouble spot against Portland this past weekend and just like kicked it out of bounds, kind of waved to his teammates like, my bad, but he's not going to try to exacerbate a mistake he makes. He's just going to clear it out and we're going to move on to the next play. So it's probably not great content to be like, I don't care, but like,
no, that's the right play.
It's a good I don't care, right? Like we have in terms of like who we're starting this
week. Okay.
Yeah, I feel just as solid with Ilya, with Danny, with Julio, with Svatak. And at this point, I trust the coaching staff to put a lineup out there that's going to help us execute how they're trying to attack and defend this Vancouver team.
I think that's a really good point. I do trust this coaching staff to put out the lineup that they want this team to play. Jesus Christ, the lineup that they seem deem the most fit to play how we want to play Vancouver here.
Yeah,
and like how we're going to assess this game, and that's been an early trust thing for me with Estevez here, and like I think he's earned it. So I don't necessarily know if those guys would be like. Would you link those two guys together, like you said, Svatak, Danny? Like, so it does seem like a bit of a counterbalance, yin and yang of like offense, defense,
exactly.
offense for those two guys. I get that, but like I think manipulating the lineup, you shouldn't necessarily have pairs like that. But we shall see. Also, I am there. I don't think I would be too upset to see any sort of 11 that contains those guys that we're talking about here.
I think the biggest thing to me, and this is 100% coming from the fan emotion side of it, I think that because we are still waiting to see the offense totally turn on and get all cylinders firing, so to speak. Earlier in the season, I was saying I would like to see more of a 4-3-3 look with Azuni playing more of a left winger rather than kind of in tandem as double forwards with BV up there. But I also it's also still very early. It's April 9th, right? We're 7 matches in here. So a little over 20% of the way through the season, I believe. If they're going to stick with the 4-4-2 look, or rather just 2 forwards, right? Because we're not a 4-4-2 in possession, right? With Biru bombing up that left side, Galley making himself available up the right as well at times. But just getting a little bit more space for those 2 forwards, I think maybe should at least is something I want to see Nico and the staff experiment with at some point. And I think you could also, much less exciting discussion, I think you could also make the case that we should see the team experiment with a 3 center back look at some point as well. That's a lot tougher to do when you only have 3 center backs, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I think, water gun to my head, I want the same 11. I want the same 11 from the last 2 weeks. I want Sabo. I want Danny. He's been playing well. I want to see that. And, I'm just hoping for a big Azuni game here. I think that, he's biting at the bit to go ahead and score some goals for this team. So, like, we need a little boost here. But, again, the chances that we have created throughout this, what is this now, 4 games where we haven't lost, they've been solid. They've looked good. We just haven't been able to, as always, find the back of the net and also have our decision-making be right there every single time, exactly how we want it. And I don't expect 100% every single time in regard to the decision-making in the final third. And I just think regressing to the mean, the quality of our players, the way that we've been able to advance the ball up the field. And I know that this last matchup versus Portland was a 0-0 draw, and it was not a very exciting game, particularly for us who missed like the first 3 chances for Austin.
Right.
But when we've seen this team look good in space, you can see the individual talent that our 3, particularly the 3 offensive players have. And with who they're going to be missing, and I know they're still having some guys here who are playing really well, I think we're going to be able to create chances. So I'm fine with Pep. I'm fine with Svatok. If we see Julio, I'm good with that as well. But we're going to have our hands full, man. Like, this team is not going to come in here and or we're not going to go in there and just see them lay down, despite the fact that they got to travel so much, play this Pumas team, potentially advance in CONCACAF. But like, if you do advance, right, if you're Vancouver, you're thinking that's what you got to be focused on, right? This early in the season. It's really,
especially with what the points they've banked, dude. Like, to have 16 points from their first 7, they could go winless for the next month and still be in a playoff position. 16 points on May 9th will still be a top 9 position.
They're ahead of fucking Miami, dude. Like,
like Miami game in hand. But your point, the point stands.
The point stands. I mean, they've just been really, really good. So I think we're gonna have to be at the top of our game. I don't think we played, despite the fact that I was okay with that draw. We didn't play our best game. You know what I mean? I don't think we also played one of our best games versus St. Louis. This team, as I keep saying, has yet to hit their ceiling, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm down for whatever Estevez is going to roll out here. I think we're going to try to find ways to get Buka up in space as well. That turf, you'll be able to really start ripping. So we'll see, man.
Yeah, and I mean, we have an opportunity to really just kind of come to the doorstep of what our threshold for away wins was last year. We've already, of course, got 2 wins away from home with LAFC and St. Louis already taken care of. We had 4 away wins all of last year. Yeah. So, like, again, to go up here and grab 3 points, to put us on 3 away wins, to put us on 16 points, depending on how the other results go in the West this weekend, you could be tied for first in the conference if you get a win here. But it's going to be tough, like you mentioned. Like, dude, even if they go all out and they rotate somewhat heavily on Saturday, their defense, like you mentioned, right, that we're the best defense right now statistically, and I think to the eye test, they're right there too. Yep,
they're right there, and the gap between their offense and our offense is large. Their defense is not being talked about at the way that it should be. Only those 5 goals conceded, man. This is a good team. I really respect them.
I guess the only thing I wanted to kind of jumping back, right? You mentioned Tate Johnson.
Oh yeah,
name, I just thought this guy like came out of nowhere, and I think for good reason. I don't know why I would know him outside of just our research for the Super Draft, but most of those guys just go, out of the Mind Fortress right after we don't pick them. But Tate Johnson's a 19-year-old rookie. Played. Okay, as a 15-year-old back in 2021, signs with USL 2 side Tampa Bay United. Apparently his father, Brian Johnson, who played with the KC Wiz from 97 to 2001, so kind of an OG MLSer there, is his father. He was the technical director for Tampa United, so that was the in for Tate Johnson. But what he's done since then, like, he got the leg up because of his father's position with that team, but then signs with the Tampa Bay Rowdies the next season, right? Academy deal, but that's USLC level. Yep. Played 7 games with their first team. So as a 16-year-old is playing USL competition, then goes to Crown Legacy, Charlotte's next pro team in their first season back in 2023, appears in 10 matches for them, then was teammates with Riley Thomas at North Carolina last season, and then gets drafted, tagged with a Generation Adidas designation in the draft class, drafted 15th overall by Vancouver, and now getting starts for this team and has scored a goal already, got the hockey assist on Brian White's goal, the first goal against Colorado last week. Again, you go back and watch those highlights from last week. First of all, in the highlights that the league put out for that match, right, it's basically just a Vancouver highlight reel, and you see Johnson bombing in there. And I think you said, like, watching that Brian White goal back that you thought Johnson was Ryan Gauld with that ball that he put in there, dropped it right in there. So again, this is a team where, like, just going back to that old cliche saying of next man up, like, again, this team has been exemplifying that. And Tate Johnson, like, look, Danny is the number one pick. Obviously, we've gotten more out of Danny than 99% of super draft picks ever give their clubs. But outside of that, like, our draft picks in totality since then, like, Tate Johnson has kind of already done more. And so, like, he's certainly an outlier. And we knew about the talent. The league knew about the talent with the GA tag. But man, like, to get that at 15 where this kid is contributing for them, it's just, I've been impressed with the roster build, considering, like you mentioned, the lack of massive transfer fees to build this team out.
Their roster build has been really good. Tate Johnson has been a great example of that. I don't know how many more times we can just say that this team has gotten the most out of all of their guys. So let's go ahead and talk about how they're going to lose this game. I'll throw it to you first so you don't get all upset.
Ooh, let's go. All right. Well, sucks because I'm not very fun here this week. So,
yeah. God damn it. I'll write mine down and I'll reveal.
It's a 1-1 draw.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
These mind fortresses, they're too synced up right now. We got
taste your own medicine there.
We need an unlocking.
So I've got a 1-1 draw here, man. I wouldn't be surprised to go up there and slip up. I would not be surprised to go up there and steal 3 points. But right now, the way that they are playing, even with their match against, like, the fact that we're talking about them playing with a chance to advance to the semis of CCC against Pumas after they already beat Monterrey south of the border. It's very hard for me to pick a victory here in a place where we never have. And, like, this is a place, dude, if we can't win up there behind a Rodney Redis fucking goal, like, it's just very hard to predict a win at BC Place until we actually see it. So I'm a little bit reserved here this week. Give me the 1-1.
All right. Well, I was going to go with the 1-1 draw, but I'm going to go ahead and slap a goal tariff on these Canadians.
Okay, goal tariff.
2-1 Austin. Give it to me. 2-1 Austin. First win up there at BC Place. Our offense hits their stride a little bit. We get some good chances. I don't think Takaoka is very good. I think if they do have I think if they do have a bit of a weak point, Takaoka. So let's go ahead and get 2 goals, get 3 points up there in Canada.
Well, I like your prediction much better than mine. So 2-1 win for E, a 1-1 draw for me. We don't care how you get it done, boys. Just bring us back the 3 points.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day here on episode 214 of the North End podcast. Copita Tejas kicking off on Friday in town at the Pitch. And again, this match kickoff was moved from 5:30 to 7:30. So much more accessible for the general fan base here. And again, North Texas SC is the next pro representative of FC Dallas and the defending league champions. Look, I guess if you want to look on the bright side, at least we have kept the next pro title in Texas over the last 2 years. So, it's, all right, Texas. But North Texas SC certainly off to a much rockier start this year than last. So this is one thing that's interesting about the table when you go check out how things are shaping up in the early weeks of the next pro season. In the Western Conference alone, we have 3 teams that have played 5 matches already. North Texas SC is one of them. We have a team that has only played 2 matches, right? So it's kind of tough to get a good read on things just based off of the table right now. But North Texas, man, we talked about a couple weeks ago when we were previewing the St. Louis 2 match that they had gotten dubbed 3-0 at home in their opener, right? The banner unveiling got totally spoiled there. Then they beat Whitecaps to 3-2 at home. Then they get dubbed 5-1 by Dynados. So Dynados, announcing their presence in the 2025 Copita Tejas. Draw 3-3 against Sporting 2, and then they beat Timbers 2-1 on the road last week. But you add all that up, man, it's only 7 points from their first 5 matches. They have scored 9 goals and conceded 14, which is the most in the Western Conference. By 2. Okay, Whitecaps 2 has conceded 12. Nobody else has conceded more than 9. But again, North Texas has played 5 matches. So led offensively right now by number 41, Tariff Scott. Tariff Scott is a supplemental player for the FC Dallas first team. He's got 2 goals and an assist. That matches the output of number 35, Malachi Molina. He is 2 goals and 1 assist as well. He is an off-roster homegrown signing for their first team, right? So cannot play in the first team matches, but is on a homegrown deal with their first team. Number 11, Sam Sarver, also has 2 goals for North Texas. So, man, coming to our place against a team that is very well rested, right? We have played 1 match, I think, in the last 3 weeks with the 2 bye weeks we've already had. Of course, we're sitting on 4 points with the opening night win, then the 1-0 loss, and then the draw against St. Louis and not picking up the additional point in the PK shootout. Fucking Brendan McSorley. But like looking at us too, if we were at home this week, I would feel more confident about our attack here. But because we know Diego is going to be out for the first team, I think it's not just CJ. It's not just Riley Thomas who's going to be missing, but I think Jimmy probably travels to Vancouver as well. Maybe not. We'll see an hour before kickoff on Friday, of course. But the fact that you could be missing all 3 of those guys, like we have perfectly capable fill-ins, for lack of a better term, right? We've seen Anthony Deonda playing up there on the wing. Micah Burton could get back into this lineup. We know that Grogan and Vlad have been sharing the minutes up top, but it's just not going to be a full strength FCito no matter what, right? Because you know CJ's going, and you would think that Riley Thomas would also be with the first team here. So I still feel pretty strong that we're going to be able to pull off all 3 points here, but I'd feel a lot better if we had the full arsenal here, because we saw in the first half against Colorado in the opener what this team can do, and they have everybody active.
Exactly. And like you said, I mean, those guys have been fantastic in their roles. Deonda, Grogan, other players that, but like they're not Jimmy and CJ. They're for sure. That pairing is one of the best that we're going to see in Next Pro. So yeah, they're going to be a little bit shorthanded here, but like you said, well rested. Hopefully we got these guys into practice, getting them a bit more integrated, because these signings have been trickling in here and there. We got to build a bit more cohesiveness for this team. The way this schedule is set up is so weird. It's so funny because you're talking about that. My dumbass, after you said you had to go to a wedding, B hits me up, North End Pirates. Yeah. Like, I'll go to the Dallas game with you. And I was like, I can't make it. And I thought it was last Friday. I didn't realize it was this. Yeah. I think so. Sorry about that.
Well, look, I mean, this is a team in North Texas that, despite the results like being a little bit eye-popping compared to what you expected out of them last year when they were just rampaging through their schedule, they're still scoring basically 2 goals a game. And so the fact, it's going to be on Gomez and Van Ryn at the back, right? Whoever's going to play, you may see Daniel Chesla fill in at right back there for Riley Thomas, right? You expect Ruben to be at his left back position, Adrian Gonzalez at the 6. And I'm excited to watch, again, I'm going to have to watch the replay here, but Jorge Alistue has been a very exciting addition to this midfield. So we know he was back healthy the last time we saw this team, so I expect him to start as well. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, well, I think there's just one thing left to do here, E. How much is Austin FC 2 winning by on Friday?
Like you said, we're going to be missing those guys. It's going to be tough to score goals, I think, here. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 1-1 draw, winning PKs. Run it back.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go 2-1 victory here, because this team, while they are scoring, this team is giving it up so sweet with 14 goals conceded through just 5 matches. And even without some of those guys that we think will be with the first team. I think we put 2 on the board here at home and get our Copita Tejas schedule started off on the right foot. So 1-1 draw with a PK shootout win for E, 2-1 for me. And like we always say, don't care how you get it done, boys. Just bring us home the 3 points, especially against those Dallas fucks. And talking about, hey, look, man, come on. You keep it in Texas. Got strong words for those in Texas. Looking at the Academy here, it is a big week for the Academy. The GA Cup starts this weekend, and leading into this competition, Thomas Birchfield. Congrats to Thomas. He is Thomas is like 6'5" or 6'6". You'll see him in those U16 roster photos. Goalkeeper for Austin FC's U16 Academy team, named to the Rising 11 here ahead of the GA Cup in 2025. So congrats to Thomas. And before we look at that GA Cup schedule that gets started this weekend, we do have another Academy recap from the team here. This was last weekend for our Academy boys. U18s 2-0 shutout win against Sporting KC, 2-2 draw against KC for the U16s. Then the young boys were playing against TDP Elite out of Louisiana. We know that is a familiar name or a familiar club. U15s back on track, 4-0 thrashing of TDP. U14s do their part, 2-0 shutout victory, and then a 1-0 loss for the U13s. But again, overall, a winning weekend for the Academy. So we love to see that.
Love to see that. Also love to see that Austin FC is doing this for the Academy boys. That's
absolutely
awesome. Shout out Chat America, though, the OG.
Yeah,
America was reporting everything before Austin FC was doing
correct.
This. So
correct. So looking at the GA Cup schedule here this weekend, both teams in action on Saturday, 9 a.m. You get U16s taking on Inter Miami's U16s. Later in the day, 2:30, U18s taking on the Galaxy U18s. Back-to-backs for these boys. Sunday, 9 a.m., the U16s take on NYCFC. The U18s at 2:30 take on Charlotte FC. And then on Monday, so back-to-back-to-backs for these boys here, the international matchups, you get the U16s, 9 a.m. once again, taking on Stuttgart. And you have the U18s at 2 p.m. on Monday, taking on Independiente. I believe that's out of Panama, if I recall correctly. I may be mistaken there, but either way, the broadcast schedule was put out. We're going to have our boys advance to the knockout rounds to get broadcasts of these matches because Austin FC was passed over for the limited number of matches that they do broadcast on Apple. So, look, boys, we want to watch these games. Get it done in the group stage, and then we'll see you on the stream in the latter parts of next week. So we'll check in on these first 2 results on Sunday's episode.
We'll definitely take some advancement. Let's go, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. So closing out episode 214 here, E, with the nonsense and a quick check-in on the Verde Best Ball League. And oh boy, look at that North End podcast up there into second place. 4th straight week that we have had the highest score. It has not been enough to get us up all the way into first, E, because We Are Austin TV continues their strong start to the season as well. We tie with We Are Austin 50 points each on the week, so 329 total for We Are Austin. We're at 324. Verde all day, still right there, strong week, 45 points, 320 in terms of the total. Soccer-wise, making a little bit of a run there in the bottom half of the table now, just 7 points back of Moon Tower in the 4 and 5 spots. VP boys still in the mud, man. It just might be, sometimes it be like that, right? 28 points. It's tough right now, but we're less than a month away from our first transfer window draft, so everybody will have the opportunity to make some swaps to shore up their team. And I know we have a couple guys that are out of position as well from our preseason guesses. I know us and We Are Austin at the very least. So we will dig into all of that at the beginning of May. But look, another opportunity, E, for us to jump up into first, which would be the first time since, I believe, late September 2023. So we got our fingers crossed. Just got to beat We Are Austin by 6 this week.
We gotta change We Are Austin's name to We Are Austin TV FC because they have a whole management
whole
system.
squad.
They have a whole organization. So like they definitely need an FC next to their name. So long season though. It's going to be a really long one for the VP boys though.
Yeah. Well, and the week 7 picks here on the pod don't go as planned, but it wasn't horrible here. We're still sitting in a very, very positive spot. Unfortunate, sitting here, hindsight's 2020. We locked in Rusnak as our favorite pick of the week. He gets that and a half. Diego Rossi comes through as well. And then we were between Emmanuel Latte-Lath, shots on target, and Marcel Hartel, shots attempted. Went with Latte-Lath. Of course, he misses. Hartel hits. But still, on the underdog picks on the season, we are sitting at 6.66 units in the black. And then on the picks at the sports books, tough week, but it could have been worse. I think we lose our Atlanta parlay. We lose our Austin parlay. We lose our LAFC draw no bet. Minnesota helps us salvage some things there on Sunday. We did get goals from Zaha. And when Zaha hits in the first game on Saturday, we're like, here comes another big week. And then, nope. So not a lot of goals from the goal-scoring picks. We did get Chucky Lozano, his first MLS goal at plus 270. We did get Benteke, who feels inevitable at this point, at plus 120. But on the week here, negative 3.85 units in the betting markets. So plus 6.6 units on underdogs, still plus 13.5 units on the betting sites. So you can check back in Saturday morning for our week 8 picks with the underdog entry and our other picks. And again, before we shut things down here, just want to remind you that you can sign up and tail these picks at Underdog Fantasy. The MLS season is here. If you want to make some picks on your favorite players in sports, check out Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em game. You choose higher or lower on between 2 to 8 players, and you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. Underdog is available in 33 states, including right here in Texas. To sign up, click the link in the description of this video and use promo code NORTHEND at sign up, and you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick to get you started. So join the millions of fans who have won billions on Underdog. Promo code NORTHEND at sign up there, you can sign up through the link. That link is in the description of this episode, both on YouTube or if you're listening wherever you get your podcasts on the audio version. So you can sign up, promo code NORTHEND, get the bonus cash, get the free pick, and then you come back to the northendpodcast.com to check out the picks for the weekend. And we actually forgot this in the rundown here, so we're going to close out episode 214 with...
The best keeper in the world.
Damian Loss, Louisville City, took on Freddie Kleeman's Sacramento Republic last weekend. Damian played the full 90, a 1-1 draw. Our buddy Turbo Trevor, our resident Louisville City fan here, giving us the breakdown. A frenetic back and forth game that was mostly played in the middle third of the field. Sacramento played Louisville about as well as anyone Trevor has seen over the last couple years, but they were not consistent going forward. Damian saw 3 shots on target with 2 saves. The Sacramento goal was basically on Damian, and it looked really bad in the 69th minute. A defender played it back to Damian. His first touch was poor, and it went too far away. He had to make a lunging pass as he was being closed down. It went right to a Sacramento player who lofted a ball into the open net from 40 yards out. Damian was completely caught in between with 0 chance to make a play on the ball. I've watched it over and over, and I think it's all on Damian. Aside from the mistake on goal, relatively quiet night, and the other saves were routine. He did have some good box command moments, grabbing crosses and punching out corners. One time with a good punch to take the ball wide, even as he was being fouled. And Louisville City gets the draw with a goal in the 8th minute of second half stoppage time, a failed Sacramento clearance in the box that went right off a Louisville player's head and into the goal, literally at the last second. So he's also included, I love these from Trevor, other Austin-related tidbits. Manny Perez continues to look dangerous when playing wide on the right. A great goal line clearance from Freddie Kleeman for Sacramento late in the first half, as well as a great tackle on a breakaway opportunity for Louisville in the 62nd. He says in parentheses, this does not mean that Freddie Kleeman would be getting minutes in Austin right now. And he said a silly Damien moment in the franticness of trying to restart play while down a goal. In stoppage time, Damien had some trouble maneuvering around the goal and finding an extra ball. Doesn't know if the ball boy was punking him or if Damien was just being frantic, but it led to a couple funny moments that you can catch on the broadcast replay if you have ESPN Plus. And in the 92nd minute, Damien tripped and knocked over the ad board behind the goal. And in the 94th minute, he couldn't find a ball. And then all of a sudden, there were two. So it just sounds like a very hectic night out there in Sacramento. But Louisville gets the point and moves on to this weekend. So good luck to Damien in Louisville this weekend.
What a game that must have been. Holy smokes, got everything. That's awesome.
I know.
Shout out Trevor, man. That's great stuff. Thank you.
Shout out to Trevor. We love the recaps here. Anything else for you here, E, before we shut it down on our Wednesday?
Nope. Ready to do this, man. 2-1 up there in BC place.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 214 of the North End podcast. We will be back on Sunday recapping Austin FC's road trip up to Vancouver, recapping the second team's matchup against North Texas SC, and recapping what we can of the academy teams out there at the GA Cup. And of course, talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We'll do the same. We'll see you out there at Southern Heights Brewing on Saturday for the watch party and back here on Sunday. Till then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.